Chapter 6. Zhou and Sheng thought that the two of them would quickly go to the next stage once attraction was established. Hook up. But Du Xulang's ideas were clearly beyond his expectations. The other man seemed to be earnestly pursuing him. A phone call every couple of days evolved into a couple of calls a day. When he visited A country, he always took him out to dinner, but it was always a simple meal, and he always maintained an attractive but not overly explicit attitude. Every New Year's festival, he'd send expensive gifts. Zhou Sheng had no choice but to shamelessly think Duke Xulang was pursuing him, and his attitude was very serious. This feeling to him, who suffered miserable death and was hated as a villain by male and female protagonists from start to finish, was undoubtedly novel. He died an unsightly death in each lifetime. He failed to obtain true love in each lifetime. He suffered betrayal in each lifetime. Zhou Sheng thought that he had already grown numb to love. But after breaking free of the system's shackles, he found he had only buried the desire deep in his heart. Since Du Xulang was determined, he would also go with the flow. As for whether the two of them could last, that was another topic. While he was thinking, the phone on the table rang. Sure enough, a man's low, magnetic voice came out from the other end. "Did you like the watch I sent? I also bought the same cell. It's a good match." J Country Capital. Duke Xulang was standing on the top floor of a skyscraper while talking affectionately on the phone. He smoked in satisfaction. The other side must have said something amusing because he chuckled, eyes flashing in a happy light. "Yes, I know. I'll see you next week. You choose the place." He caught sight of his nephew walking in without knocking. Duke Xulang frowned and had no choice but to end the call. Zhou Wenjing sized him up inconspicuously, very curious about what type of person could let his uncle be so gentle. "Uncle, did you find me an aunt?" he joked probingly. Du Xulang was clearly pleased by the word aunt. He chuckled for a while before nodding. "Yes, I found you an aunt." Then he added in bad taste, "When I wangle him, I'll introduce you guys. You must get along well." "Still needs to be wangled?" Zhou Wenjing was secretly relieved. Evidently promising, he had already learned Du Xulang's true identity. The first feeling was incredulity. The second feeling was pleasant surprise, and then fear. It took a year or two to adapt and gradually restore their original natural casual relationship. Under Du Xulang's protection, he founded his own company, and it was now on the rise. His prospects were broad. He was no longer the originally easily bullied illegitimate child of the Zhou family. In J Country, even if he met a business big shot, they would respectfully shout, "Jing Xiao." All of this was what Du Xulang gave him. If Du Xulang set up his own family, would he still treat this no-blood relationship nephew so wholeheartedly? Would his wife and children tolerate his presence? Zhou Wenjing's nature was mistrustful, lacking a sense of security. He was even somewhat guarded against Du Xulang, someone who generously invested in him. The flash in his eyes didn't escape Du Xulang's strong perception. His heart couldn't help but be disappointed. Yunsheng also knew his identity, yet his attitude hadn't changed in the slightest from the past. His nephew, although he tried hard to cover it up, still couldn't conceal the fear and fawning in his words. Before, he felt that Yunsheng was inferior to his nephew, but the facts were proving that his judgment ability was lacking. Zhou Wenjing was scared silly by his uncle's observation. He had no choice but to open his laptop and change topic. Today, today is the final day of trade war. I want to take first place to show you. Oh, already the last day? Du Sulang indeed threw away his distracting thoughts, walking over to focus on the screen. Trade War was an online game sold by Noah Universal. It was very popular among business people because of the excellent production and environment with impeccable realistic details. Many business leaders forced their children to compete in the game, using it to hone their skills. This year was Trade War's second anniversary. The game held a genuine trade war, but only allowed people under the age of 25 to participate. The war created an instant of hiking. The competition lasted 30 days. Each player could only hold 10,000 yuan in starting funds, and at the end of the countdown, the computer would select a winner according to overall quality. Simply put, the one who earned more money won. Zhu Jing was a loyal fan of Trade War, but also one of the expert-level players. So far, he was ranked first. This game had a huge player base around the world. Standing out from the crowd usually required extraordinary ability. Naturally, his identity was also extraordinary. Those who participated anonymously aside, real-name participants had strong backgrounds, one after another. A self-made business upstart, a conglomerate, a group, etc. Who would think that the unknown Zhou family illegitimate son could overpower the bigwigs and settle in first place? Even Zhou Wen'ang, Zhou father's praise to high heaven's son, was eliminated early on. But Zhou Yunsheng made no appearance. Perhaps he was too afraid of failure? With a strong sense of superiority, Zhou Enjing pointed to the map and explained, "The land reclamation project between Shungba Island and Clearwater Bay has been completed. This place will become an important commercial port, and the once penniless Clearwater warehouse will double in value and become the center of distribution." When the government announced the start of the reclamation project, I already purchased Xinglong Group. The Xinglong Group holds a 20% stake in Clearwater Warehouse, so I indirectly own a controlling stake in Clearwater Warehouse. Hiking Instance Gold Miner has already been won by me. Du Sulang glanced at the data on the screen and raised an eyebrow. Your celebration seems a bit early. This person holds a 22% stake, more than you. Zhou Wenjing followed along the fingertip to look at the screen, only to find that the player named Decide had released a share certificate on the communication channel. The bright red 22% stung his eye. Which hole did this Decide crawl out from? I've never seen him before. Zhou Wenjing turned pale and fried. He quickly searched up the other's information and found the other side's performance was mediocre, but when his investments were added up, the results were shocking. The industries he invested in were diverse. There was food, technology, real estate, entertainment. Although there were no sudden and huge profits, the profits were steady, with no chances of loss. In just 29 days, he actually quietly accumulated huge wealth. His ranking just happened to stop at 11th place, but the network only published the movements of the top 10 players. This caused Zhou Enjing to not be alerted. Du Sulang stared at the site's transactions list and raised an eyebrow. It seems that his foresight is more long-term than yours. When the government first sent a survey team to Clearwater Bay, he had already started buying stock in Clearwater Warehouse, never making a sound, yet amazing the world with a single brilliant feat. Either don't move or one move will kill you. This really was someone's style of action. Duke Sulang smiled in interest. Zhou Wenjing scorned. Even if he has 2% more than me, my Xinglong group is based in the real estate and finance industries. It has long been in bed with the International Trade Bank. As long as I chat with the chairman of the International Trade Bank, Simon, an NPC, the International Trade Bank will terminate all financial transactions with the site. As long as he doesn't want to go bankrupt, he'll have to give up his current shares. The business world is like this. Just because it's in your hand, it doesn't mean that it belongs to you. Duke Sulang hooked up his lips, his meaning unknown. He casually shook out some cigarettes ash. His nephew was very outstanding. His ability was also very outstanding, but he was afraid that he still wasn't Yunsheng's opponent. Zhou Wenjing and the chairman of the International Trade Bank quickly reached a consensus. However, a strange change suddenly occurred. The second-ranked Shanghai Group announced their intention to compete for the Clearwater warehouse. Shanghai Group was engaged in the shipping industry and was currently Haicheng's shipyard big shot. His real identity happened to be Li Shanghe, the great-great-grandson of the shipping tycoon Lei Shisu. Shanghai Group and the International Trade Bank had strong capital ties, and Lei Shanghe was the honorary vice chairman of the International Trade Bank. His intimacy with Simon was far above Zhou Wenjing. His strong involvement intensified the game to the climax. Noah Suzanne was Du Sulang's personal assistant. He always paid attention to the game's development, so when he saw his boss and his nephew through the glass window in the office, in the middle of competing, he couldn't help but come in to observe. Today's young people are so powerful, us old guys better watch out. The side, Godkiller, quite a fierce name, but the strength is actually the weakest. He holds 22% of the shares, the hot potato. I'm afraid Xinglong Group and Shanghai Group will reduce him to cannon fodder. His performance has been very smooth up until now. The acquisition of Clearwater Warehouse will probably become his downfall. This shows a lack of ability to be content with what you can hold. Although you need courage to engage in business, a calm mind is even more needed. He impartially evaluated. Zhou Wenjing nodded in agreement. Du Shulang forcibly snubbed off his cigarette, giving Inur Suzanne a meaningful glance. Inur Suzanne hopped his arms around his chest, suddenly feeling a bit cold. At that moment, Zhou Yunsheng was sitting in front of his computer screen. When he saw that Lei Shenghe, as expected, had joined the fight, he immediately opened the private chat. The two people discussed in secret for a moment. Then they finally reached a consensus. On the other end, Zhou Wenjing was surprised to see that the site, at the low price of 30 yuan per share, had transferred his shares to Lei Shenghe, and Lei Shenghe persuaded the International Trade Bank to let the site buy a 46% stake in his subsidiary company, Jialing Group. Henceforth, the site officially became the largest shareholder of Jialing Group and joined the main board of directors. Jialing Group was involved in the food manufacturing industry. This development potentially was far less than Clearwater Warehouse, which was bound to become a mountain of gold and silver. But when converted, the market value was also worth at least 6 billion. When the site originally bought shares in Clearwater Warehouse stock price was very low. Even if he sold it for the low price of 30 yuan, he still earned 36 million of Lei Shenghe. The 36 million was all used to purchase Jialing Group. In other words, he bought something worth 6 billion yuan without spending a penny. When the announcement came out, everyone was extremely shocked, finally understanding. From the beginning, perhaps the site never had his eyes set on Clearwater Warehouse, but on Jialing Group. But he didn't directly go after it. He turned so many roads, his final plan to get Jialing Group without spending a penny. This tie white wolf with bare hands strategy is too fearsome. Inu Suzanne pushed up the glasses that had slipped off his nose, feeling that his handsome face had been slapped soundly by the side. Zhou Wenjing endured and endured to not crush the mouse in his hand. With Du Shulang watching him from the side, he suddenly felt the pressure double, and resorted to the most despicable means. While Lei Shenghe was convening with the board of directors, he spread on the World Channel that he would buy Clearwater Sharehouse at 45 yuan per share to acquire 49.9% of the stock. Why 49.9%? Because corporations law provides that once a shareholder had more than a 50% stake in the company would enter into compulsory acquisition stage. In other words, once you owned more than 50%, whether you had the money or not, you'd have to buy the rest of the shares from the other shareholders until 100%. Otherwise, you would have to bear the corresponding legal responsibility. This provision was created in order to prevent malicious acquisition and to protect the company's interests. A comprehensive acquisition of Clearwater Warehouse would cost tens of billions. The current Jinglong Group and Shanghai Group didn't have that strength. While the acquisition was in full swing, Zhou Yunsheng saw that Lei Shenghe sent him in a private chat and let out a satisfied smile. Zhou Wenjing's shareholders slowly rose, but when victory was imminent, Li Shenghe posted in the World Channel that he would buy Clearwater Warehouse shares for 10 yuan more than Jinglong Group offer until 49.9%. The investors that were watching from the sidelines immediately flocked towards Shanghai Group. In the end, the acquisition battle ended with the fierce defeat of Jinglong Group. The countdown signs all turned zero and the game ended. Zhou Wenjing wiped his face, pulled his hair, then suddenly smashed a mouse in his hand. The computer screen showed rapid changes. Clearly, the statistics of all the players were being summed up. The winner would be picked. Du Shulang patted his nephew's shoulder in placation, then looked towards Inu Suzanne. Who do you think won? It's certainly Lei Shenghe. He is worthy of being the great-great-grandchild of the shipping tycoon. The student surpasses the master, Inu said confidently. No, the side one. Du Sulang pointed to the screen. The final acquisition war involved nearly 9 billion in funds. Lei Shenghe, although the market value of his shipyard is very high, his fluid funds are lacking. Where did he get 9 billion in such a short time? Borrowed? Inu Suzanne thought of a possibility. His heart couldn't help but jump. My God, young people today are really too formidable. Seeing his twisted expression, Du Sulang laughed. Yes, the last 9 billion was borrowed. As for who lent it, see for yourself. At that moment, the site stats had a new update. In his total assets column, 20% dry shares in Clearwater Warehouse suddenly appeared. Hai Cheng's biggest cake in the end. He still took a big bite out of it. His calculating turned everyone in circles. This is the real big winner. Du Sulang walked to the French window, his lowered eyes filled with wonder and infatuation. Zhou Yunsheng, his name seemed to be a spell. Once he got involved with him, it was difficult to disentangle himself. Incredible, just how big is this person's brain? Other people take one step and watch 10 steps ahead, but he finishes the game before it even starts. Everyone's moves were within his expectations. 100% investment success rate, long-term business foresight, and excellent ability to operate. This person is a genius. In the future, I'm afraid he'll even run neck and neck with you, boss. Inu Suzanne was in complete worship mode. Du Sulang smiled happily. Success in the virtual world doesn't represent real-world success. Zhou Wenjing pushed open the leather chair and showed out coldly, saying, Let's see if he has the ability to earn a few billion in reality. There are many geniuses. How many can make it to the top? The Zongda group he'd founded was based in the real estate and financial industry. He earned money very quickly. In just 2 years, his assets were already in the hundreds of millions, and he was only a third-year university student this year, less than 20 years old. Compared to the vast majority of young people, he was undoubtedly one of the best. His great success made his already proud nature gradually change to conceit. He couldn't accept a victory at his fingertips being snatched away by a nobody. Duke Sulang stared at his hurriedly retreating back, shaking his head in disappointment. As the saying goes, there were men beyond men and heavens beyond heavens. His nephew obviously forgot this. He was indeed very outstanding in reality, very business-minded, but compared to Yun Sheng, he was still too lacking. Yun Sheng's Noah Universal had long replaced the illustrious rail technology, becoming the tech industry leader. The software he developed penetrated all walks of life, greatly facilitating people's lives and work. Mankind was unavoidably stepping into the information age. How much profit could the information industry produce? People not involved in this area could never fully imagine. Making money was just secondary. Even more dreadful was the ability to quietly dominate people's lives. Neue Universal's strength had long been able to compete with the business giants like Duke Conglomerate. While he was disappointed in his nephew, Duke Sulang was also proud of his beloved. He logged into his own account for a private chat with the site. Inul Suzan had already turned to leave when he caught sight of his boss's movements. He stood still, asking incredulously, "You know the guru? Can you introduce me?" He had already risen from a passerby to the site's zealous fan. Duke Sulang didn't reply, focused on the computer screen. On the other end, the handsome face that he yearned for day and night really appeared. The man was pouring a glass of red wine. The top two buttons of his white shirt were undone, revealing a very sexy collarbone. Jo Yun Cheng, Suzanne often helped his boss by gifts, so he naturally knew the young man. Seeing his face, he made an expression of sudden realization and complete acceptance. So young, yet extremely wealthy. Plus, he was completely self-made. His talent was enough to surpass all the younger generations. In the past, Suzanne's impression of the youth was only a vague excellent. But after that thrilling fight, he finally realized his power. No wonder he could let an equal opportunity leader like the boss settle down and remain chaste. Suzanne pushed up his glass frames and inwardly sighed. Congratulations, to Sulang's burning hot gaze lingered on the other man's collarbone and Adam's apple. Jayun Cheng smiled, raised his glass to the camera and shook. Cheers! What wine are you drinking? Du Sulan asked while he also opened a bottle of red wine and poured. 1929 1992 Imperial Screaming Eagle Cabernet Sauvignon. A selling price of 50,000 in A country's currency, equivalent to more than 30 million in C country's currency, equivalent to 59 million in J country's currency. Really living it up. Duke Sulang chuckled, then put down his glass and sighed. My wine is not as good as yours. Why don't you invite me over? Zhou Yunsheng narrowed his eyes and pondered for a moment. Then he hugged his finger towards the camera. Then come over. I'll not only invite you for a drink, you can even stay for breakfast. The young man's tone was deep and hoarse, containing implicit ambiguousness, making Du Shulang's heart jump wildly. Barely maintaining a calm attitude, he probed. Are you serious? You know what happens before breakfast, right? If I don't know, why would I ask? After chasing me for so long, you don't dare go further? The young man raised his eyebrows. His face, flushed by the wine, was stunning. If he continued restraining himself, he wasn't a man. Under Inu Suzanne's stupefied gaze, Duke Sulang, without even taking his jacket, rushed out of the office. The leather chair, shaken by his sudden departure, issued a loud bang as it fell over. From the other side of the screen, cheerful, youthful laughter could be heard.